Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and apologies for the late start, but I'm excited that all our speakers are now in the webinar. Thank you so much. We just needed to make sure that we have observed the security issues and protocol before we start the webinar. So thank you so much for joining. So welcome to the regional webinar on bridging faith and justice. And it's a stakeholder collaboration to combat gender-based violence. So we're very excited that you're on the call with us. Please stay on for the entire duration because we have such an amazing list of speakers that are going to share their experiences and also the strategic recommendation that they'll give us towards advocacy and also for improved programming. So we're very excited to have you on the call. So just a few of housekeeping issues. We need all of you to make sure that you type your name and the country that you're coming from. So we just have a few housekeeping issues that we have to go through. Thank you so much. All right, I need to introduce myself. I'm Stembile Chiware. I'm the director at Maita Group. So we are a regional consultants firm that is supporting INERELA to host this webinar together with Aidsfonds. So thank you so much. Right, so in the chat box, we want to make this as interactive as possible so that we have networks as well, and people can also then have bilateral conversations outside this webinar when it's finished. So please feel free to put your name, affiliation, and then the country that you're representing as well. We'd really love to hear from you, and also just for future communication with others as well. Thank you so much. So please type your name. So in terms of housekeeping issue, we want to make sure that this webinar is such a safe space. Everything that is going to be said into this webinar is going to be really taken on the programmatic perspective of how we can change and how we can reduce gender-based violence in the region. So please, feel free, so we ask everyone to respect each other's view. There's no right or wrong answer. So we're going to have a lot of discussions and people have different points of views. So we need to make sure that everybody is respecting each other's views. And then participants who do not comply may be removed from the webinar or future webinars. Also for security reasons, make sure that your ID is really your name, not just some pseudo numbers. We really make sure that for the cyber security, we have your name on the ID platform. So if you have any questions or comments, please share them in the Q&A box. Any questions and comments, share them in the Q&A box. And we invite some panelists and participants to speak as well, but please raise your hand and then we give you the platform to do so. So kindly note that this webinar is being recorded, but we hope that you enjoy the conversations and we also get some insights into how we can reduce GBV in the region. Thank you so much. Okay, so without further ado, allow us to play a video which defines what gender-based violence is. We had an opportunity to speak to several organizations that we have been working with, and you get to see some different views and what gender-based is all about. So please just have a look at this video in terms of the definition of gender-based violence. Thank you.
Gender-based violence, or GBV, is violence against someone based on their gender. It is rooted in gender inequality and harmful attitudes about the roles of women and men in society. Because of this, women and girls are at much higher risk of GBV. There are many kinds of GBV, including physical, hitting, punching, choking, stabbing, and shooting. Sexual acts or comments without permission. Emotional, controlling, shouting, insulting, and withholding affection. Financial, controlling access to money. Violence against children. Sexual abuse, physical or emotional abuse. Neglect and witnessing domestic violence. Intimate partner violence. Violence committed by a partner, husband, or boyfriend. Femicide, murder of women and girls. Sexual assault is a serious crime. Sexual assault, Any type of sexual activity or contact that you do not agree to. Rape is a sexual assault, where there is penetration of the private parts or mouth by any part of another person's body or with an object. Sexual assault is still a crime if you are a sex worker, were using drugs and alcohol at the time, or if you are in a relationship with a person who raped you. It's not your fault. It's never okay. Help is available. Childline 116, GBV Command Center 0800 428 428. National Shelter Helpline 0800 001 005.
Okay, so many thanks to Nakosa. They published this video, which is accessible online for you to disseminate to the different communities that you're working in terms of understanding what gender-based violence is all about. So without further ado, we need to go through the webinar objectives to make sure that we all understand the platform, why we are here, why it's important for us to have this conversation. We also want to acknowledge
gender-based violence
the different we also want to acknowledge the different conferences that are taking place this week. We do have quite a number of conferences on GBV around the world, and it's important for us to also acknowledge them. And this is part of the process as well. So in terms of the webinar objectives, we want to increase the understanding of the intersectionality between GBV, HIV, and religion in Southern Africa, with a focus on the policy environment and existing challenges. We want to showcase INERELA's interventions in addressing GBV, particularly through the hands-off project. So Munya, the executive director of INERELA, is present, and she's going to be sharing on that. And we need to explore the strategies to strengthen the policy response and facilitate dialogue among the different stakeholders. So I'm very excited to note that we have a multi-sectorial stakeholders which are online, and it would be great as well to get some of your insights from the experiences that you have. Thank you so much. So allow me to introduce our guest speakers. We have such an immense and also very powerful list of speakers that have coming from different backgrounds. We're going to share their insights. Each speaker has about 5 minutes just to share their views and also their experiences from the different countries. Thank you. So Munya Mandipaza is the executive director of INERELA. So welcome, Munya. We give you the platform for you to share with us what you're doing at INERELA in terms of responding to GBV. Thank you so much, Munya. Over to you.
Okay, Stemble, thank you very much for the opportunity. My work is to make sure that the countries that we work with, the hands-off program is merely working in about 5 countries in the region. And basically my job is to make sure that I resource the countries so that they will be able to roll out the project within the different countries in Southern Africa where the project is being implemented. So besides making sure that we do have resources, I also am responsible for engaging with different stakeholders that we work with in the region and at global level, so that we jointly make sure that we tackle the issues that the target group that we work with under the hands-off program will be well covered through different partners and movements that we work with, be it the influencing of policy, be it joint advocacy for laws and policies that are not favorable to the target group. Then I make sure that reporting is done back to our main donor for this project, which is Aidsfonds. And I'm also responsible for making sure that communications happen in the form of videos. Sometimes it's the Facebook as well as our Twitter account. We work mainly with Maita Group, the ones that are moderating this platform today, in terms of messages that you have come across on Facebook and Twitter. And also like human resources, because for things to happen, I have to work with a team of people. So I'm responsible for making sure that they are motivated, they understand the goals and objectives of the program, and also additionally to raise more resources to add on to what we have, so as to expand the program. Then visibility in general of the organization through the website is my work as the executive director of INERELA, and also liaising with the board of directors regarding what happens with resources and any other issues that the board needs to intervene on regarding this program. I think, in short, that's me.
Hello, Munya.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
not sure if I was audible.
Yes, you were. You were. We wish to see you though. I see your video is turned off, but it's okay. Thank you so
My
much for.
bandwidth is very weak, but here I am.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. No, we can see you. So can you tell us a bit about the Hands Off project and how long have you been implementing it? I know that Tamara is online, but just from your perspective, how long is the program for?
The program started in 2020 with a needs assessment in the region, covering 5 countries, where we did, we had to engage religious leaders and all the stakeholders that we intended to work with, because, working with sex workers was new then in 2020, and with working across different denominations or faith-based organizations, some of the religious leaders were not knowledgeable about how to go about engaging the sex workers. So we had to start with a needs assessment, and then ultimately around mid-2021, we put together a manual, the hands-off manual, that we are using to train change agents and the religious leaders to roll out the project. So we are still implementing the project from 2021. And I can safely say even up to next year, we will be implementing the project in the region.
Thank you so much, Munya. I really appreciate this. So we do have Tamara, who is joining us from the Netherlands. Thank you so much, Tamara, for joining. So Tamara is from the donor perspective. So she is a project officer for the Hands Off at Aidsfonds. So over to you, Tamara, in terms of what the key messages you have for us with regards to the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tammy, for the patience. I just want to make sure that you can hear me well.
Loud and clear. Thank you.
Super, super, super. I have to wear these headphones because the laptop doesn't have microphone, but actually helps me. First of all, I'm honored and I'm really want to extend my gratitude for allowing me to be here in this webinar to reach not only to Munya, Bobo and Calvin, who I know from INERELA for a relationship we have, but also for the people who are being part of this amazing space. I'm going to try to be very short and concrete. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Ecuadorian. I'm from Latin America. I'm a feminist activist in my, I'm not going to say my other life, but in my life, I'm also a feminist activist who are more than 2 decades working, pushing also this whole transformation. I hope to eradicate violence against girls, women, and trans people, but I think at least we are confronting that. But I live here in the Netherlands, in Europe. I work here in Hands Off. I'm recently new because I joined the team in February. And one of the first things I learned As soon as I landed here in Aidsfonds and also taking my role as a project officer, was a relationship I had to maintain and build with INERELA as one of our partners, implemented partners of Hands Off in the region. Um, as a Latin American, a feminist activist, one of the things it really strikes me and full me of hope is to have INERELA in this amazing role. You are the beneficiaries. You know how much it costs to transform a society, but you also know that um, the transformation comes from the heart, comes from the mind. And seeing the video and also moving on and sharing a little bit also the perspective of the hands of work, to transform something, we need to understand what we are confronting, but also we need to understand our roles on that transformation. Violence against girls and women is not one. There are several. They represented and they're presented in different manners. We're talking about a plural, massive reality that women and girls all around the world are living and confronting. I always say that should not be a penalty to be born as a girl, as a woman, a penalty for a life experience of violence. But the reality is that women who are listening to me now, they know what is violence because I believe all of us have experienced violence at some point in our lives. The role of INERELA, as I said, strikes me very much because the implementation is not only a project activities, it has to go through a personal transformation. And as you know, also, if we don't question our beliefs, if we don't question our behaviors or attitudes, it's very difficult that we dare to transform or dare to confront our transformation, even more to push forward transformation. And the work of INERELA is really inspiring. It's also an ecosystem of a network that it cannot work isolated. When we want to transform a reality in the world, in the countries, in the regions, we need to work as a movement. We need to link with each other. We need to push forward a collective effort. Um, and empower relations in the world, global north, global south. Me being a Latin American, I know I understand. Also, I'm a migrant where I live and when I work. We need to be aware of the power relationship, and we need to also make sure, and that is really my message, that the power of transformation relies on you. We here in Aidsfonds, we are supporting different partners, and we're working with this perspective and this belief that a hands-off name, as it says, is not up to us to say or to decide what needs to happen for the transformation. It's up of all of you to do, to act, to react to the reality. We provide with a tool that is the funding that I also see it from the Netherlands, a country that is rich and is present around the world. The role of the Netherlands is a reparation after the whole story of colonization. And I see that in the collaboration and the learning process I have from the work of INERELA. And here goes the power of transformation all of you have. The role of religious leader leading a transformation from the work you are doing in a daily basis, in your families, in your community, and the power relies there. Sex workers are one of the key populations that we work with here in Hands Off, and also in Aidsfonds, and also seeing it, the prevalence of HIV infections as a reality of violence. My invitation and my message with this, I close also my intervention, is that for all of you to take the power of transformation, but also don't forget to question which your power is. Where are you standing? Why you are standing from? And how much you can also transform your reality, your surroundings by deciding to doing so. Here, we were going to keep supporting INERELA. Hands-off project ends early to 2026. I'm still learning. I'm still inspired by the work you're doing. And I'm really, really great. My gratitude and my thanks for allowing me to extend these words. I'm sorry about my English. As a Latin American, I have very strong accent in my English, as you can hear it. But I believe you could understand me. And I'm here ready to learn from all of you. And thank you. Thank you for all the work you're doing to transform the realities, and for these girls and women and for ourselves to confront a reality that should not never ever be normalized. We have the right to live, to experience lives free of all type of violence, in freedom and with autonomy. Thank you.
Tamara, thank you so much. And the English is fantastic, by the way. Thank you so much. On behalf of INERELA and all of us and all the organizations that are present in this webinar, we also want to extend our thank you for the support that you're giving us in the region to make sure that we really achieve the objectives that we've set out. And we encourage you, and we are excited that I'm sure that there's going to be multi-year type of funding mechanism beyond 2026. Munya, isn't it that's what you want to hear? So we hope that with Aidsfonds, they can also have some different dialogues with other donors as well, so that we can have a broader mechanism that can be cascaded to more geographical spaces. But thank you so much, Tamara, for joining. Thank you. Right. We do have a short video that really speaks to the lived experiences of women that have gone through gender-based violence. And it's also important for us to get to understand that it's not only the women who are victims of gender-based violence, it's also the men. And so it's important for us just to acknowledge that. But for the sake of the video, please have a look. Thank you.
Kama name is Cynthia Makakola, mother of 4 kids. When I met uGuy bengithandana naye, bekawubhuti ohloniphekile, handsome, unothando, wangithanda nabantwana bami. Bekuba mnandi endlini, nginomntwana oyi-1 naye. And makangaphuzanga, bonke kubona ukuthi akusabantwana bakhe. Then 2009 waqala wakhipha ama-true colors wakhe. Bekangishaya, but always bengithatha yena ngimbeke phambili, mina ngiza emuva. Every day besiphila leyo mpilo leyo makadakiwe. Kwalokhu kuchubeka but ungaboni mina ukuthi lo muntu uyangihlukumeza. Njalo makangishayile abanama excuse nami ngwa-accept ama-excuse wakhona, and always I used to blame myself ukuthi mhlambe yimi ngimchukuluzile, mhlambe yimi ngenze wrong. Ngikhumbula 2010 December, abantu mabasi happy, mina zange ngikhona ukuthi ngithi happy. Bengiphuke inyawo, angishayela abobhuti ekade sichashe nabo ejaridini ukuthi why bazothi happy new year kimi. 2014 it was Easter Monday. Savuka ekseni soyi-2, masivuka ekseni singabantu abayodrowa imali, kungabi na problem, sihambe soyi-2. Masifika endleleni ajike athini sikhohle ukushiyela abantwana imali esi5. Wajika makabuyela endlini wafika warape umntanami. That was so sad because umntwana bengimprotect estradeni, mayithi 5:30 abantwana bangena endlini, umntwana warejwa endlini. Thema ngifike court, ifamily yakibo beyimsupporta, bakhipha amagama ukuthi mangabe bengimthanda bengeke ngimbophisa, ungikhulisele abantwana, and izinto ezinje bezenzeka kudala. So I have to ukuthi mina ngifight for umntanami. After umntanami marriage bebakhombana ngami abantu, lo bophisa indoda lo. Even my family bathi sazosicela impuphu lo, ucabanga ukuthi bakabophisa indoda yakhe uzobandla ngani labantwana. Wagwetshwa wathola 2 life sentence, 50 years. Kuthe 2014 leyo savula i-organization i-Davidson Stand Up, ngathola abantwana abama-victim of rape and abasaba ukukhuluma, sibasiza labo bantwana labo nabomama kuma-domestic violence. No one has a right ukuthi akuhlukumeze, no one ukuthi acontrol impilo yakho ukuthi kumele uphile kanjani ngasiphi isikhathi.
have Pamela Chakwivinga, who is she has dedicated her career in addressing GBV in Southern Africa. With over 10 years of experience, she has worked extensively with the sex worker-led organizations, with governments, international partners to promote human rights for health and well-being. So Pamela, we want to welcome you on the platform. Just confirm if you can hear me loud and clear. She's based in South Africa. So she's currently working as a capacity development officer at Southern Africa Sex Workers Alliance, SASWA, where she provides tech building and policy guidance to member organizations. Very excited to be having Pamela with us. The unique challenges and experiences you're facing in the work that you do. Over to you, Pamela. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Stembile. So good afternoon, everybody. My presentation today is going to focus on the critical issues of gender-based violence affecting sex workers, highlighting the intersectionality with HIV and marginalized communities. As a sex worker, with the experience that we face on the ground, so I'm going to have 4 topics which I'm going to talk about are unique challenges faced by sex workers. There is a lot of stigma, discrimination, and marginalized. When it comes to gender-based violence, there is increased risk of gender-based violence due to the criminalization and social exclusion, limited access to health, care, justice, and social services, violence and abuse. And we know that there is a lot of work have been done, some interventions have been done, but sex workers are still facing these challenges when it comes to access to justice and when it comes to health. And with the statistics of the report from the Global Report of Trafficking in person for 2020, 45% of sex workers experience gender-based violence, and 75% of sex workers report limited access to health from the UNAIDS report. One of the quote from one of the sex worker advocates says, "I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor, but society treats me like a criminal." So when it comes to intersectionality of gender-based violence, HIV and sex work, higher HIV prevalence is among sex workers due to gender-based violence and lack of access to services. Gender-based violence is a barrier to HIV prevention, treatment, and care. As we know, there is a lot of different methods of prevention on when it comes to HIV, but because sex work is criminalized and a lot of stigma attached to that, and intersection with other forms of discrimination, racism, homophobia, and transphobia, because within the sex work industry, it's not only female sex workers, but we have male sex workers and transgender sex workers, and we have migrant sex workers who move from one country to another to do sex work. So from our statistics, 37% of sex workers living with HIV report experience of gender-based violence from the UNAIDS report. And one of the quote from a sex worker advocate from Kenya, "We are not just the victims of gender-based violence, but we are also survivors. We need support, not judgment." When it comes to experience of marginalized communities, specific challenges faced by transgender sex workers, 90% of transgender sex workers experience discrimination when it comes to global transgender survey, which have been done in 2019. Migrant sex workers face language barriers and xenophobia because most of the time they'll be speaking English and trying to understand the other languages in the countries that they go and work. And sex workers living with HIV encounter stigma and treatment denial because at times they are being turned away and being told that you are coming in our country to finish the medication that is being catered for the citizens of the country. Sex workers experience disability because we have sex workers who are living with a disability, and 75% of marginalized sex workers, of migrant sex workers, support language barriers. This was from the International Organization for Migration report for 2020. And one of the quote from a sex worker from India says, "I have experienced violence from clients, police, even my own family. Where can I go for help?" So these are the key recommendations which to address these challenges that sex workers are facing on the ground, which we are recommendation for the decriminalization of sex work, which is going to remove all the punitive laws which give barriers for sex workers to access to health and justice, and community-led interventions and peer support programs will help us to making sure that sex workers they access to all the services that all citizens are benefiting on that, addressing intersectional forms of discrimination. And one sex worker from the New Zealand says, decriminalization will mean I can work safely without a fear of arrest or violence when it comes to that. On my conclusion, importance of inclusive policies, evidence-based policies and programs can save lives. Join us in breaking the silence and demanding change for sex workers' rights. Together, we can create a safer, more inclusive world for sex workers, recognizing the human rights of sex workers and address gender-based violence. As we know that the religious leaders have got more influential when it comes in the countries, we really need you to come for this call for action to support and advocate for change in the lives of sex workers. Thank you.
Pamela, thank you so much for sharing with us the different subgroups that you support in making sure they're also protected from gender-based violence. Thank you so much. Allow me to welcome more colleagues who are joining just now. We do have quite a wide range of participants from different countries, so thank you for joining. We see colleagues from South Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, Zambia, Malawi, and also abroad in Europe and other countries as well. So thank you so much, and stay online because we do have quite a number of speakers that are going to share their perspectives as well. Thank you so much, Pamela. Without further ado, allow me to invite Loiso. Loiso, are you on the call? So Loiso Saliso, she is the program manager at Sisonke National Movement. So she's an award-winning intersectional human rights advocate. So Loiso, we want to understand the advocacy strategies that you're doing to strengthen the policy response to HIV. What are you doing at Sisonke, and also based on the experience that you have in country? Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, sorry, everybody. Thank you so much, Tembi, for that introduction. So as Tembi said, I am programs manager at Sisonke, where we work in advocating for the human and health rights of sex workers. I think what I was requested to speak on is on the experience that I have with regards to gender-based violence, but also touching on the extension of it and the intersectionalities of that as well in the work that I do. So we all know the pandemic there is in South Africa when it comes to gender-based violence and femicide. And myself sitting here, I am a survivor of gender-based violence and was very much close to becoming a statistic of femicide had I not played dead. The final time that I was being locked in a house and being beaten up, I had to play dead in order for me to save my life. And today, the work that I do is not only because of that, but to also see what government can do to change policies and to ensure that other women and children do not fall victim into that. So in Sisonke, we work with sex workers, and as Pamela has said, who is a former colleague at Sisonke, is that sex workers face various harsh stigma and discrimination. We have built very unique relationships with organizations such as INERELA and INERELA, where we see ourselves partnering with religious or faith-based leaders in ensuring that they understand the challenges that are faced by sex workers. There is faith-based leaders, first of all, have a very crucial role to play in society when it comes to they hold a significant influence in shaping moral beliefs and values, and their platforms reach various spaces. I mean, they are able to influence government, and we know that we have been advocating for the decriminalization of sex work, for example. We also know that we have been advocating around the gender-based violence and femicide NSP for it to be implemented, which is also inclusive of the decriminalization of sex work. So faith-based leaders have those kinds of influences. I think my talk today was really focused on highlighting the key roles that they have to play and what they have done. So a lot of influence comes from faith-based leaders in churches, but also a lot of discrimination and stigma takes place in those buildings as well. From stigma and discrimination, people are feeling that the church is no longer a place to save them, where they can go there when the world is too heavy for them, and be able to walk away feeling like, they are supported, to feel like they have dignity and are safe. And so ours is to really say that faith-based leaders, as you have this power, you are able to help with breaking the silence. Sex workers, as we've said, women and children in this country are suffering in churches, are suffering in communities, are suffering in workspaces where you are judged for what you do. We are judged for being sex workers. We are judged for being victims who are perpetrated by men and who end up becoming victims of femicide. We are stigmatized for living with HIV. And we do not want this to happen anymore. We also are challenging, I call for faith-based leaders to also challenge the harmful norms. I feel that there is power in, particularly in African faith-based leaders, where you are able to decolonize religion, where the word of God can start speaking into the reality of the people, where you can start speaking to human beings, not just as what they are as sex workers, but rather to who they are as human beings. So challenge those harmful norms in the preachings, speak to people in relation to their realities, create safe spaces for sex workers. I know that when we've been working with INERELA, Professor Jassy has really been a staunch advocate in terms of, supporting sex workers. And he has been saying, let's go to hotspots as religious leaders and get there and clean up those hotspots. That is the action and solidarity that we need to see. That is the kind of relationship that we want to solidify with people who are leaders in communities and societies, and creating those safe spaces in churches as well. And also being an understanding that you are advocates and you are activists as well as religious and faith-based leaders, that you also have a crucial role to intentionally and consistently preach the word of inclusivity, of acceptance, of non-judgment, of non-stigma, of non-discrimination, regardless of whether somebody is a sex worker or a person who is using and injecting drugs, regardless of whether they are gay, regardless of whether they are trans, or a child who is silenced because they are a child. Be the advocate, because there's so much that is happening in different spaces, including the church, that is enabling these societal injustices to continue. I also want to call for faith-based leaders to raise the awareness. When we speak of these policies, when we advocate for the decriminalization of sex work, we ask you to also be the extension of that voice, to support us when we are in the streets, support us when we're advocating, to show that sex workers are human beings before they are sex workers. Queers are human beings before they are queers, and so forth. We also have a crucial role to collaborate strategically in influencing policies and expand the support in networks, and by strengthening the relationships with CSOs. I want to really acknowledge the work that Aidsfonds is doing, which is one of the most unique funders, where they have created a network that is to cross all borders, to connect us, to eliminate the spirit of working in silos, but rather work together across the region. And this is such a powerful thing, because Aidsfonds has allowed us to also partner not only with religious leaders, but also with the police, in ensuring that police also play a crucial role in eliminating these stigmas and discriminations and supporting key populations and vulnerable groups. I know I've got 5 minutes and I can talk forever about this topic, but I'll just go to my conclusion and say that, in conclusion, African faith-based leaders must understand that decolonizing religion in Africa is crucial for achieving justice goals. Your preaching must resonate with all members of society, including sex workers, drug users, GBV victims, and families of femicide victims, those living with HIVs, affected and infected, LGBTQI plus individuals, the differently abled, and the children without a voice. It is time that we rebuild trust, foster collaboration, and lead with love to end gender-based violence, to fight HIV, and create a future where every person in our communities can thrive in safe spaces that offer intentionally and consistently refuge and support. And we know that we will continue this work with INERELA. And yes, thank you.
Loiso, thank you so much. Thank you, more importantly, for sharing us your survival strategy and also being the voice for us to be able to see what you have been doing. Thank you so much, Loiso, for sharing with us. We'll stay in touch with you so that at least you can give us more information that you can give us, because I see that you have so many insights also in terms of safety and security aspects of the victims of GBV. So it would be good for you to share and cascade the messaging to different platforms. Thank you. All right, we have Dr. Andrew Spama. Dr. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. So Dr. Andrew is a lecturer at the University of South Africa. So we're very excited to have him on the platform. He has so much experience having worked in the United Kingdom and also in South Africa, but he's also coming from a perspective of being a pastor. He has pastored a church in South Africa for more than 20 years. He's also giving us the academic perspective of gender violence and how he can influence policy. So in the interest of networking on this platform, I'm excited that colleagues who are placing their names and where they're coming from. So please keep doing that. So Dr. on the line, you can have a conversation with her bilaterally because she's also a director in the Netherlands of Ndiri Ani, which is also focusing on child protection. So I see you do have a lot of synergies that you can also have going forward. Thank you so much, Dr. Andrew. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tembi and colleagues, everyone. Bonjour and good afternoon here in South Africa. Thank you very much. For many years, I think the church has neglected its responsibility to look after the vulnerable, especially children that are abused, and some are abused within the church, women and men that are being abused. In as much as we want to talk, we talk about gender-based violence, and we realize that some of the challenges that we are facing is because we remain quiet. And it has been, a great journey for me in my study where I looked at the support that the churches give to those that have faced challenges of gender-based violence. But as an academic, and which is my focus this afternoon, I want us to consider, the relationship between academic and also NGOs and what is happening on the ground. And it is important that those that are in academia and those that are doing work on the grounds and the victims, we work together in order to be able to influence policies, in order to have a voice out there. And this we cannot do without collaboration with places where masses of our brothers and sisters meet in the name of worship, where there is unity, where there is one voice. And that is why the voices of religious leaders is very much important in speaking against any form of abuse that is happening. So as academics, we get data from, we do research. We are able to work with NGOs to do research and research about what is happening, where the voices on the ground can be heard. So once we have acquired such information through research or through analyzing what has been written, or where we go and find out what others have researched around the topics, and then where we do field studies, where we go into historical records, where we collaborate. These are some of the things that we use to gather information. And once that information is shared, then we publish what we call articles. So as an academic, when I have to write something, I cannot just write based on my observation. I must be able to scientifically compare what has been written, what I'm finding out with what has been written before, and come with analysis and bring it forward. So that makes it very much important that we need this partnership between academics, between the NGOs, and also with religious leaders on the ground, because they know what is happening. They know the reality of the people. So my question has been to say, why then? How do NGOs disseminate the reports or what the findings on the ground? And as long as what academics are doing and what the NGOs are doing on the ground don't talk to one another, we will have a problem. We will have challenges where things are done in silos. And when I was thinking about this, one of the challenges that we are facing here is about funding, those that are giving us funding. I think it is about time, and this is my suggestion, that when NGOs do applications, they apply and also include research, partner with researchers who will write what from the reports that they can write articles and publish it. Because when we write articles, when we write a scientifically verified information, it can go out to politicians, it can go out to those policymakers, so that they can be able to do informed or implement informed policies that will influence the decisions, and even on how funds are allocated on the ground. They can do informed decisions on where to put resources and manpower. And it is through partnership between the academics, between NGOs, and also including the people on the ground, that we can be able to work this out. As I conclude, allow me to say that we have resources on the ground. We've got voices on the ground. And we can only achieve more and do better when we work together. And to those that are in academic year, or those are in universities who are researchers, let us take our research back to the communities. Let us engage in community engagements where after we have done research, we go back, after we have written articles, we go back to the people that we have used to collect data, we have worked with to get our qualification, give them feedback. And also it is important that we start advocating for access to information, especially for NGOs as they also embarked on this, so that they can have access. And also some of the people that are working in NGOs, they can start also studying further to develop themselves. And this partnership can always help us to do this further and to grow together. But we cannot do it alone. As an academic, I cannot do it alone. I need NGOs. NGOs, they need people on the ground. We all need each other. Pastors, we all need each other to make sure that we've got a safe and secure communities. let me, my last word, say to you that if we fail to protect children, if we fail to protect women and the vulnerables, we will fail our members, we will fail our church members, and they will see a church as an accomplice to violence instead of being a place where they can find security and know that they are protected. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Spama. We are very humbled with the way that you're giving yourself out for strategic partnerships with the NGOs and also for policymakers and for the donor community. So we want to encourage those on the call, please take Dr. Spama's contacts and also create memorandum of understandings, develop the programs together that will really make sure that there is really meaningful participation from the academics, because we do want credible evidence as we are advocating going forth. So thank you so much, Dr. Spama, and I'm really excited that you're on the call. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge all the different participants we have. We do have quite a number of high-level officials on the webinar, and thank you for your time that you've given us. We do have board members of INERELA. We have presidents and vice presidents of superior councils, networks, and various unions, executive directors, religious pastors themselves. So I'm really happy that the messages is also coming really straight home. Research organizations, government ministries. We really want to acknowledge Namibia for joining us from the government, policy institutes and think tanks. But we also want to acknowledge, I can't say above all, but I want to really acknowledge His Royal Majesty, King Fumu from DRC. For those who don't know King Fumu, I think you can take his details in the chat box, but he's been very supportive of our communities and the work that we do from DRC and also spanning across Africa. So thank you so much, His Royal Majesty, for being part of this conversation. We will open up the webinar in the next few minutes for others that might have messages to share with us. So please also do prepare any few messages you might have, but also feel free to type in the chat box any messages you might also want to give us and recommendations. Thank you. Our IT is ready. They are going to play you another video just to really firm up the messages that we are discussing about. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Darlington. Over.
I'm afraid. Can someone please protect me from being raped? I can't stop crying. I'm injured and raped by my own father. Terrorized and brutalized by my brother, spouse, and strangers. Is it a mistake being born female? Is it a mistake having breasts? Can someone protect me from being sexually abused? I say no to unwanted pregnancies. I say no to dropping out of school. I say no to gender-based violence.
I think we can all see that there's a lot of work to be done in Africa, in Southern Africa, in the region, just to really make sure that we address all these issues being shared through the different videos that we're sharing. Reverend Dominic Misolo, I want to welcome you from Kenya. So Reverend Dominic is really influential in Kenya. So we're very excited to have him on this discussion. So he's a priest in the Anglican Church of Kenya and also the founder and executive director of Institute for Faith. for faith gender empowerment, and he is over 16 years experience as a priest, and he's going to share his views with regards to gender-based violence. So thank you so much, Reverend, for being on the call. And you tell us the role of religious leaders in fighting GBV and promoting supportive environment. Can you share with us what's happening in Kenya? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, INERELA and the team. I'm so excited to be joining this webinar to share my perspective as a priest and also as a male champion for gender justice. Many a time people call me a feminist, and I do accept that I'm a feminist, because when I look at the definition of a feminist, I agree with, as a theologian, that even Jesus Christ was a feminist. So it depends on how you conceptualize the meaning of being a feminist. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Thank you so much. As I've been said, my name is Reverend Dominic Misolo, ordained priest in the Anglican Church of Kenya. I'm also the founder and executive director of Institute for Faith and Gender Empowerment. Institute for Faith and Gender Empowerment is a faith-based organization that exists to promote equality and justice for women and men through capacity building, mentorship, and advocacy. I think this is our 10th year since this organization was started in Kenya to advocate for gender justice and equality. The most important thing is that we harness the potential of men and faith actors to actually end gender-based violence. We do this through the capacity building. We do a lot of advocacy and also training of faith leaders and also community leaders, which include men, policymakers, and also gatekeepers about issues of gender equality. I also work with men strategically on positive masculinity to talk about the issue of gender-based violence, because many times it is all about power inequality. It's about having more authority, having more thinking that you have more value than the other, that many times make men to accumulate more privileges and power over women. This actually is the root cause of gender-based violence. I've worked with men and I've worked with faith actors on issues of gender equality. Why am I passionate about gender equality as a priest? This reminds me of my childhood memory and upbringing. As a young boy, I grew up in a polygamous family where my father had 3 wives. Growing up as a young boy, I witnessed abuse against my own mother. I used to see as a boy growing up, my mother and my father fighting almost every evening. And I could not tell why my father was wielding much power over my mother. And actually, it is so terrifying as a child to note that your mother, whom actually you love, that your father is having, also you love your father. But there's power inequality, and actually there's abuse that comes with it. So I used to ask as a child, what is going on here? Then going to church as a teenage boy, I witnessed firsthand leadership in church, and commanded church was actually male-based. Almost all pastors in my church by that time, being Sunday school, were all male. Also coming back to the structures in the community, when I was a teenager, there's a time I went to Chiefs Barasa. In Kenya, there's what we call Chiefs Barasa, where actually is the basic unit in the villages that actually is administratively managing and directing things in the community. So we went with my mother because everybody was invited. I was interested as a boy to go and see what chiefs are saying in the Barasa. I was offered a chair to sit. Well, actually, my mother and other women were told to sit down, because where men are and where there's such a meeting, women sit down because men are the authority. So I thought that it is normal for men to accumulate power over women. Then my change came when actually I joined my seminary, where I went to seminary for theological education. I came across academic journal that was actually talking about women, church, and gender-based violence. And reading this academic journal as an academic adventure actually transformed my life to see the reality in our community, the link between gender-based violence and actually the link between faith leaders and faith community, because many times in our community, you find that faith leaders command a lot of power and privileges, and also institutions is a respected institution because it's linked to God and also is shaping morality and things in society. So in that academic journal, I saw myself and my community and the poverty, everything, my childhood memory, abuse against my mom, actually from that academic journal that was talking about power inequality, talking about biblical misinterpretation. One thing that actually I do in our programming with the men and also with the faith actors, how do we interpret the Bible? How do we preach from our pulpits? How do we preach when we are joining marriages in holy matrimony and actually bringing these people at part to start their marriages? So many times when I do training through the curriculum which we developed on biblical gender equality, we actually start by saying that the Bible has the potential to actually influence the heart and the mind and bring holistic change and sustainable development. Because why is gender inequality, gender-based violence persisting many, many years, despite many supports we are getting and many partners we are receiving? And in Kenya, we have so many femicides going on because when somebody's heart is not changed and only the mind is sharpened through research and everything, the person is not changed holistically. And therefore, faith leader has a critical role to play when it comes to changing people's heart about abuse and gender-based violence, because they change their heart and also change the attitude and mindsets. The Bible that we have, which I want to carry with for you to see, is a powerful tool. It's a sacred document that when actually misinterpreted to justify power inequality, to justify male dominance, it's as if you are saying that God is actually sanctioning men to be superior over women. And that's really powerful. That can actually destroy the society. So many times in our training, we say that the Bible is not a weapon to bring one gender down, but it's the bread of life to feed them. When we do proper interpretation, which we believe the Bible from Genesis to Revelation talks about equality for men and women. So we agree with my fellow theologians and fellow priests that when we interpret the Bible in a discussion, in a safe space, the Bible speaks about justice for women and men, justice for women, justice for survivors, and justice for those who are being oppressed, because that's the good news that actually Christ is teaching us. Again, when it comes to another tool that we are using in our communities here in Kenya, actually we are also scaling it up to other places, is what we call positive masculinity. We must include men. Any program that actually is targeting to mainstream gender, any program that is targeting to transform the community must actually include men in their programming, especially when it comes to changing norms, changing attitude, changing beliefs. We include men in these conversations, in our programming, targeting strategically those who are in power and who has the authority to actually speak reality to our situation. About 83% of population in sub-Saharan Africa are actually subject to one religion or other. And therefore, it's very important for us to see how the role that faith actors can play in ending sexual and gender-based violence. Because every Sunday we have sermons in the pulpits that either is demoralizing or diminishing the value of women and girls, or maybe we have sermons that actually bringing equality and justice, God's love to everybody. That people talk about God's love and people talk about equality and equal worth and dignity for both men and women. When we talk about the root causes of these things, and we don't take God as if God is favoring men, that when we talk about God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, we think about three men representing God. No. Even women are also created in the image of God, because the Bible in the book of Genesis talks about that both men and women were created in the likeness and image of God. So when we are saying that only men actually signifies God, in whose image are women created? So these are the conversations that many times occupy my time to create safe spaces to talk about issues that actually affect our societies. So it is my privilege to invite all pastors here to think about programming within our churches that will transform our worldview, transform our attitudes, transform our mindsets to think about equal value in both women and men, what we call Imago Dei effect. Because from there, we are going to end root causes of sexual and gender-based violence. We are going to engage churches to actually be the force that is going to talk about rape, talk about femicide, talk about intimate partner violence, and the society are going to live in peace. Thank you so much, friends, and thank you for the opportunity. And I hope that when we have new strategies that are targeting churches, targeting faith communities, targeting men, we are going to have gender transformative approaches that will transform the African nations to become gender inclusive and gender justice places. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Misolo. I really appreciate your message that you're delivering. Please do share your contact details in the chat box if you need other colleagues to join you as well and learn more about what's happening in Kenya. Thank you so much. We only have 10 minutes to spare. We want to try not to run over, but we've really made sure that we've covered all ground. I just want to confirm if Sam is in. Sam from INERELA, Zambia. Can you just confirm if you're in the call? I'm failing to see you. Okay, while we're waiting for Sam, I want to put His Royal Majesty King Fumu on the spotlight. I wouldn't want you to leave without giving us some words of wisdom from DRC, but also from the experience that we have working with religious leaders in the region. His Royal Majesty Mfumu, are you on? Can you say on the call? Thank you so much, Sam. I can see that you're here. Just bear with me. We wanted to open, Sam, so just get ready for you to give your message. After I just open up for a few comments and questions, so that as you are representing INERELA in terms of programming, I really wanted you to be part of the closing team. His Royal Majesty, if you're on the call, can you hear me? If not, we can proceed to Sam. Thank you so much, sir. King Mfumu, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Thank
Hello
you.
to everyone.
Yeah, we are very happy to have you on the call. And maybe you can just share a few message in terms of how you're addressing gender-based violence, not only in DRC, because I know that you're highly influential in the region, including the SADC Secretariat as well. You've given us a lot of insights, but also just your final message to the religious leaders and how we need to address gender-based violence in churches. Thank you so much, Sam.
Yes, many thanks. I'm not only on the regional, I'm in Africa too. I'm the president of Supper Council of Traditional and Customary Authorities of DRC, and the president of African Union for Traditional Authority, that call it UATA. And on violence on Africa, I'm the Deputy General Convener of COTLA. COTLA, obviously, the Council of Traditional African Traditional Leaders, but based on violence against women and girls, about pregnancy too, how to cover our community, how to protect our community, how to protect the young ladies. And here we're talking about religious leaders, the same like as a DRC, more of our people or community or girls, ladies are in more of the school, the religious school. I'm saying like DRC when you are talking about school, you see that there were more religions inside. You have the Catholic, you have the Protestant, you have the Orthodox, everyone, you have a Muslim, but all of our child, when is going, they are learning in the same times the religions of that school. And I think more of that religious is the guide of our community, of our people. And we have to work together, to have the same visions, the same talk to our people, that we can help to give them all the condition to keep them safe. Why I've said that? Because in each community, you have the traditional authority. But the traditional authority is to protect its people. The traditional authority is to be in the same line with all of the leaders in that community. And in that community, as leaders, you have the traditional leaders inside. And I'm not a good, I'm driving the same time. Just excuse me. I want to say that we must be in the same line to look for solutions, because now we have the big danger with the internet, with driving, more problems. We can in family protect children, but outside they can't, because in their phone, they have everything inside. When they go into school, outside they have another education is coming. And all of that must oblige all of us to talk the same language, to be in the same line, to have the same idea how to protect our community. And all I have to say as African leaders, or in SADC, our regional, we are waiting to have a meeting, a real meeting between traditional leaders and religious leaders, as we were doing every time, to continue to work together for the best Africa, or the best SADC that we are looking for. For now, I think it's just what I want to say. Let the Almighty and our ancestors bless and protect our community. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Israel Majesty. Thank you for your time as well. Definitely we'll stay in touch, and thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to be with you today. I'm excited to say that I'm getting a demand, popular demand that we need to roll over by 10 minutes. So thank you. Just bear with us because we had a late start. So if you can just allow us for another 10 minutes up to 1:10, so that we can give an opportunity for those that want to raise their hands and share any other comments or recommendations they might have the opportunity to do so. So allow me to invite Sam. Sam is the Monitoring and Evaluation Officer at INERELA in Zambia. So I'm excited that Sam is going to share the key success stories of the evidence generation work that they're doing with regards to the hands-off project, but also just broader in terms of what INERELA is doing. Thank you, Sam. Over to you. Okay, Sam, can you hear us? All right. We might have to move. Sam, can you hear us? Put your camera on, please. Thank you.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. I was just saying that as M&E, monitoring and evaluation officers, we are very good with numbers and also keeping track to projects that are running. especially that we started with hands-off from 2020 up to date. And so far, I would want to go back and also allude to say GBV, gender-based violence, is very real. And looking at our global statistics, under Zambia itself, the police recorded in July 2024, on the 25th of July, they reported that 9,318 cases were recorded as GBV cases, and which now shows that when you look at these numbers, they are very alarming. And as the first video that was played, those are the violations of GBV that were talked about, and in which most of them, when you look at the data segregation, issues to do with reports from sex workers is not really reported in those lines. But I would also want to reach to say that with Hands Off project, we have managed to reach to 160 religious leaders and sex workers, including with stakeholders. The number of religious leaders, 75% reach in that number that I've just shared, under the use of the religious leaders and sex workers in Southern Africa training manual. This manual has enabled us to reach Lusaka, we have district, we have also reached Chongo district with 55 religious leaders with 25% of stakeholders, as well as the district coordinator for Chongwe. We also reached the Nimba district, where we also trained 55 religious leaders, including 25% of which are stakeholders in Nimba district. So using that manual, we have seen that it has resulted us in having champions create what we call support groups, which are coming direct from religious leaders themselves, where they create a safe space for sex workers and also to interact and share their stories as GBV survivors. And I'm very privileged today, within a minute or so, Lulu finally come on board, and she'll be able to address the challenges and also share our experience as a GBV survivor. Sorry, I was just cut through. So with this support,
okay.
Sorry about that.
Sam, we're losing you.
But right now, let me just give Lulu to share her story as a GBV survivor. Then we'll have Chico, who's also a champion, that will share
Sam,
a story.
can you allow me to I'm sorry that, can you take Lulu to the next webinar? Allow me to take Lulu to the next webinar, because we do have some upcoming webinars that are going to be taking place, and most definitely would want to hear Lulu's story, but we need to prepare for them to share their stories. If you allow us, that we can move them to the next webinar that's upcoming in the next few weeks, if that's okay. But thank you so much. What's exciting is the way that you're showing the data, and also showing us the key results areas that you're doing in regards to your performance framework. Thank you so much for sharing what INERELA is doing, and we are really excited. We want to, I'm sure if we have a cumulative figure across all the INERELA platforms in the countries, it will be in their thousands. So thank you so much, Sam. Allow me to, okay.
Can
I'm
I
going
just
to open
national coordinator sum up everything in just a minute?
No, Sam, sorry, allow us to move. Is it okay? Allow us to proceed, and then we can have a bilateral. Thank you so much. Please stay on the line, because we need to hear your conversations. I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak, the team in Zambia. I'll give you the opportunity, but I also want to take cognizance of other participants. Thank you so much, Sam. So Nombasa, I see that your hand is raised. Can you just share your views? Thank you so much. Sam, stay on the line. I'll give you an opportunity within the next 6 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello? Okay. Right. We just want to make sure that we are also responding to other participants that are on the call. So if you have any questions, I see that there's some questions that are coming through the chat bot and also the chat box. Clinton is also managing the Facebook for INERELA. Clinton, do you want to just say a few words and pointing to our delegates in terms of the social media platform? Clinton?
Hi, Tembi, and to everyone who's attending today. Thank you so much for the opportunity and to be on this platform with such an important topic. My name's Clinton Flaxman, and I handle some of the media outreach and social media accounts for INERELA plus the Secretariat office in Johannesburg. And it's basically just a call for everyone to please visit our Facebook page, and like and follow us for insights and interesting information on these topics and other topics. I've posted a link in the chat that has the link directly to the Facebook. So please pop in and like our page. Thanks so much, Tembi.
All right, thank you. Okay. If you have any questions, just raise your hand. I'm going back to INERELA, Sam and the team in Zambia. I'll give you a couple of minutes just to share your remarks and reviews. Sam, thank you. And Munya, can you get ready with your team in South Africa to provide closing remarks, next steps, and upcoming webinars? Thank you.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. So welcome. Thank you so much. Okay.
Yes, please. The Religious Leaders Sex Workers Manual to us is a resource that we treasure and will continue using. Media engagement is a platform we will continue exploring because it is making at least a voice of the less privileged and the sex workers heard. Congregational response is an innovation for our ownership, because now the religious leaders are breaking the silence around sexuality and are now trying to understand and be a support to the less privileged. Support group formation, support groups is where violations are captured, so we'll continue working with the support groups. And we have a support group of parents of children who are LGBTI, and we are really getting a lot of violations from there, and we'll continue working with them. Policy dialogue with lawmakers is the push that will continue till we have a breakthrough, because we know public policy is influenced by family, religion, business, media, entertainment, education, healthcare systems, and also working with government. So we'll continue pushing for the policy dialogues as well. Aidsfonds support has contributed immensely to our work in Zambia. Just with the journalists, we'll just wrap up one who's the champion for us.
All right, good afternoon.
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you. Another 1 minute. Allow me to just give you 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm a Chapashkoi journalist, and what I'm able to say that after being trained as a champion in the media, we have gone beyond just reporting, but we are also looking at having human dignity and bring a human first whatever we do. It's not only reporting, but we are also able to create content which generates stories, so which are able to reach the policymakers. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Wow, this is a multi-sectorial approach. Thank you so much. Caris Juru, you raised your hand. Caris, can you just say a few words? Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. I hope you are hearing me.
Yes, loud and clear. Do you want to introduce yourself? Thank you.
My name is Caris Juru, the INERELA Zimbabwe National Coordinator. I just want to echo our sentiments, thanking all the religious leaders, the Majesty, and all the presenters on this platform. To us as INERELA Zimbabwe, the Aidsfonds or Hands-Off project brought in a lot of, changes in terms of the modus operandi, in terms of our relationships, and in terms of the way we see sex workers. We have actually created a synergy between religious leaders and sex workers to such an extent that the promotion of a positive transformation is bearing fruits. Many doors were opened within the churches for the sex workers to come in and to receive that message of hope within the clergies. And on this platform, we have Bishop Tezai, who in 2020 was for the first time confronted by a team of sex workers. And for her, as a holy person who has always been so highly placed there, she was humbled to be, approached by a sex worker. And she was told, Bishop, I am a sex worker. This is who I am. And from that day, I want to tell you that there was positive transformation in both the bishop and this sex worker, to such an extent that the working synergies which are now existing between the majority of Zimbabwean reverends and these sex workers, it has created a safe space for sex workers to be recognized even within some of the churches that we are operating on. And we want to thank Aidsfonds and Aidsfonds for a job well done. We are still yet to reach many other corners with this gospel, which is bringing in a lot of changes. We also have on this platform Dr. Mwanzi, who is also a reverend in the Methodist Church, but a lecturer at MSU. So we are opening so many doors and attracting so many other partners to come and, champion this, cause for sex workers. So thank you very much. We are quite happy. Thank you.
Mr. Mjuri, this was fantastic. I really wish we could have an hour because you're showing us good practice best practice models of the impact that you're making under the hands of projects. Thank you. I'm sure we're going to have another webinar very soon. I want to invite INERELA to tell us what's going to happen next, so that we discuss more webinars to come and really iron out these issues, because this is just the beginning of the conversations. So Munya and Bobo, if you are online, do you want to give us closing remarks, next steps? But we will open the platform for maybe another 5-10 minutes after the closing remarks for those who want to stay, just say a few words. Even if we officially close, I want to stay and give the opportunity for those who want to speak to us as well. Thank you so much. Munya?
Thank you, Stambile. I would like to thank all the participants and the panelists that have been part of this amazing forum today. Like I said in my opening remarks, we are trying to reroute the organization and the way we work, so much that you will notice from the way we were working in the previous years, it's not the same as like how we have been doing stuff this year, despite the resources that are a bit low. So we have mostly been working towards establishment of the right collaborations in the different areas of our departments at the Secretariat here in Johannesburg. So we feel like we now have the right partners on board. And now we begin the rollout in terms of collaborating, as well as in terms of rolling out work on the ground. So webinars, we still have got to do more webinars. If you look at your work plans, they indicate a number of topics that we have set aside that we feel like need to be tackled in a platform like this one. We wish we could have even met physically over a number of days to go through a number of topics, but technology is there to assist us to talk virtually. So we are still going to engage via similar webinars. I would then maybe engage Stambile in terms of the way forward after this platform. But maybe if you have suggestions in terms of also how and the other topics that you feel like need to be tackled more in future. For planning purposes, you can drop that information in the chat box so that we will have it in the report that we will share with Aidsfonds. I'm glad Tamara is here. She is listening. She is our project officer for the Hands Off project. So she is here to listen. That's why we also brought her here to listen and to share with you about the program. So for as long as the resources permit, or for as long as we manage to raise more resources, we are going to be meeting more and more. Then one topic at a time, then we proceed, and maybe probably we can have a webinar per quarter from next year. But that is still to be, discussed and approved with the donor. Much as it's on our wish list. Then we also wish to add even more. I had the Pastor Andrew was talking about more collaboration, enhancement, and partnerships, even with Loiso. She was talking about the same thing, and inclusiveness. I have been jotting down some points and also some statistics which came from a number of speakers. Pamela was talking about some Global Fund statistics about the issues at hand. So we are going to look at all that, and it will inform our planning going forward together with the partners that we wish to collaborate with. Thank you. The country networks that have shared insights from the field, we are happy to hear about that, much as some of the stuff is on our reports already. And I'm also very humbled to have had the our Royal Highness, the King from DRC, to be part of this program. Thank you very much, Stembile and Tim, for making this this meeting a success. Thank you, and over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Munya. I think in African language, I should be clapping hands like this already. But we are excited that we all stayed on, and for the great participation that we had as well from colleagues. I like what you've said is that you're opening it up for a consultation process with the participants to share their comments and other topics they'd want to discuss in the near future. So we'll open the platform for another 10 minutes. If anyone wants to type, share your comments, share your remarks. We also acknowledge questions that have been coming through. Nyandwi, Emmanuel, we have seen your comment, and we're also going to share with Dr. Spama. But in the interest of time, we are just going to make sure that we officially close the webinar, but we're opening up for the next 10 minutes for any conversations to proceed. But also be cognizant of the security aspect of cyber. If our IT sees any other unwelcoming comments or pictures or videos, they're going to quickly take it down. So thank you so much, and have a good afternoon. Thank you.